Hey guys, what's up? If you'll remember a few videos ago, I mentioned that our daughter was pregnant with her second child, so grandbaby number 2 for us. Well, she had asked me to build her a baby changing station, something that she could use for a while. And here it is. So on the top, you've got the changing pad up here, and you've got a little storage area right here for extra diapers and wipes and whatnot. You've got 3 huge drawers on soft close full extension drawer slides, and behind here is the laundry hamper, so she can just toss the dirty clothes in there, pull the whole thing out when she's ready to wash. And it is also on soft close hinges, so no little fingers are going to get smashed. So stick around, I'll show you how I did it. Oh, and by the way, stick around to the very end for the gender reveal. I spent quite a bit of time separating out all the boards for this project into what would become their finished pieces. Here I have 4 boards that will eventually be the top. I made sure the grain direction was alternating to avoid warping over time. Then I cross-cut all the boards to rough length. Over at the jointer, I squared up the edges to the face in preparation for glue-up. I got to play with my new toy on this project. I got a biscuit joiner. And here I'm prepping I think this is the bottom of the cabinet. Yeah, it is. This was the first glue up of this size I've ever done, and I gotta tell you, it was challenging, but I managed to get through it and still had some clamps left over. I did the bottom first, so if I screwed it up it wouldn't be as visible. I did the rest of the glue ups the same way, the top, the sides, door, and drawer faces. After the glue dried, I could trim everything down to its final size. I don't have a panel sled, so I just used my DIY circular saw guide to trim the panels down to size. I used an extension cord reel to trace the leg pattern on the side pieces. And I used a piece of scrap and some paracord to make a bow to trace out the pattern of the face frame and the back safety rail. After that, I cut them on the bandsaw, staying just outside the lines. Then over to the spindle sander to shape it down to the line. Then, of course, it was time for everyone's favorite, sanding. I finally got to use my pocket hole machine for the reason I built it in the first place. Now I can finally start assembling the cabinet. I started by attaching a clamp to the side piece to hold it in place while I screwed in the bottom. Then I repeated the process on the other side. I attached the lower back stretcher, then attached the divider to the bottom using the dimensions from my plans. Next, I attach the face frame, which I have clearly already built here, but I have no idea where the footage is. Here I am screwing in some spacer blocks onto which I will attach the drawer slides. These simply pad the inside to be flush with the face frame so it won't interfere with the drawers. Now I'll use a little bit of magic to make the drawer pieces appear. To assemble the drawers, I again used a clamp to hold up the back piece, used glue and brad nails to hold the parts in place temporarily until I can come back and reinforce the entire thing with screws. While I'm getting these put together, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you like what you're seeing, please consider subscribing and make sure to hit the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. To attach the drawer slides, I placed it on a spacer block, held the front of the slide flush with the face of the cabinet, pre-drilled and attached it with truss head screws. Then I can put the drawer in place on top of those spacer blocks. Making sure the drawer slide is flush with the front of the drawer, I put one screw in each side. Then I can pull the drawer out to the next screw hole location and attach the second screw. Then pull it out further for the third and final screw. Putting in some drawers and filming. What are you doing? Okay. There's the last one. There it is.
Down to your stinky area.
It's not too stinky right now.
Got a box.
Yeah? You want to say hi to the camera?
Hey.
Okay, I'll be up in just a second.
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing. I should have brought my camera down so I could show sister.
Oh, she'll see it. One more screw and test drive it. Make sure it didn't screw it up too bad.
She's gonna be so excited seeing how deep these are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, these things are crazy big. Tons. And there's 3 of them. And then I gotta get a laundry basket for that side, of course. But okay.
Do that and make my way up.
Okay. It's a little tight. Gonna have to adjust that. Yeah, see, it's too tight. Then I used the same spacer blocks from the first drawer to install the slides for the second and third drawers. To attach the handles, I transferred marks onto a piece of tape on the drawer face which I have clamped in place. I used a bit just larger than the screws to drill through, going just deep enough to mark the drawer box. The screws were a little too short to go the entire way through, so I came back with a larger bit to countersink slightly into the drawer box to give clearance for the handle screws. After attaching the handle, I clamped the drawer face back in place and secured it from the inside with some screws. Then I repeated the process for the other 2 drawers. Attaching the door hardware is pretty simple. I used a 35mm Forstner bit to drill the cup, attached the hinges to the door, and used a spacer block to hold the door at the appropriate height, and attached it directly to the face frame. You can adjust these hinges to get a perfect fit. And attaching the door pull was as easy as marking hole locations on a piece of painter's tape, drilling the holes, and screwing the handle into place. With the construction of the main cabinet complete, I can turn my attention to the safety rails. I rounded over the edges to give it a nice smooth profile. Glue tends to really soak into end grain, making a glue joint here very inefficient, so I used a trick to help combat that. I put glue on the end grain and let it dry. Then I can glue the pieces together. I used some CA glue to really clamp it together because I don't want any visible fasteners on this piece. I used a piece of cardboard with a hole cut in the middle as a mask to prevent the activator from getting where the wood glue will be. Also, it tends to discolor the wood, which means more sanding. Then I checked my spacing to make sure everything was good, and it was. I carefully laid the safety rail assembly on the top, made some marks where to drill pilot holes, clamped the top into place, and secured it from underneath. Before I get too far with finishing, I flip the cabinet over and put my mark on the bottom. Now for some finish. I applied a pre-stain conditioner to everything that was going to be stained. It helps prevent blotchiness of the stain from any imperfections of the wood itself and really smooths out the overall finish. The color she chose was classic gray from Minwax, and I just applied it with a foam brush, but you could use a regular brush or even a clean rag to apply it. I let it sit for a bit and then wiped off the excess. Then everything got a few coats of water-based polyurethane, denibbing between each coat with 400 grit sandpaper. After it all dried and cured, I attached the top with some Z-clips. One end gets screwed into the top and the other goes into a slot that I cut in with my biscuit joiner. This is so when the top expands and contracts due to seasonal changes, it has somewhere to go, but it is still securely attached to the cabinet. I added some little rubber bumpers to the door for quiet closing. Here are some stills of the finished project and, as promised, the gender reveal. Thanks for watching.